The wind was cold and full of dust. It moved across the broken alien village like a ghost. The houses were empty, their walls cracked and burned. Not a single living thing moved in sight. A lone human named Evan walked through the ruins, holding a metal canteen close to his chest. His boots made soft sounds on the sand. He was tired. His ship had crashed 2 days ago. His communicator was broken. His water was almost gone. But something strange made him stop. He thought he heard something, a voice, so soft that it felt like the wind itself was whispering. "Please, just one bite." Evan froze. He turned his head slowly, scanning the ruins. The voice came again, weaker this time, trembling and full of pain. "Please, just one bite." He followed the sound, stepping over broken glass and metal parts. His heart beat fast. No one should be alive here. The scanners said the place was empty. But when he reached a shadowed corner, he saw her. An alien woman lay on the ground, her body half covered in dust. Her skin was pale blue and glowing faintly, as if the life inside her was fading away. In her arms was a small child, thin, fragile, shaking. The child tried to cry, but no sound came out. Evan's breath caught in his throat. He had seen aliens before, on battlefields, through scopes and gun sights, but never like this. Never so human. He knelt beside her slowly. "Hey," he said softly, unsure if she would understand. "Can you hear me?" The woman opened her eyes, big, silver eyes that looked almost like glass. She saw him and tried to lift her hand, but it trembled too much. Her voice was a whisper now, cracked and dry. "Human," she said, her lips shaking. "Please. Food. For my child." Evan looked down at the boy in her arms. His ribs were showing. His eyes were dull. The small creature looked no older than 4 years, maybe less. His tiny fingers clutched at his mother's torn dress. Evan reached for his belt. He had 1 ration pack left. A compressed food bar meant to keep him alive for 1 more day. His mind told him not to do it. Humans were forbidden to share food with alien species. The chemical balance could be deadly. The law said it was a crime, but his heart didn't care about the law right now. He tore the ration open and held it out. "Here," he whispered. "Eat slowly." The alien mother blinked, confused. "You would give?" "Yes," he said firmly. "Feed your child." Her weak hands took the bar and brought it close to the child's mouth. The boy sniffed it, hesitated, then took a tiny bite. A few seconds later, he began to eat faster, small sounds of hunger filling the silence. The mother's eyes filled with tears, shimmering like stars. "Thank you, human," she whispered. Evan looked around. He knew drones could detect energy movements. If they found him feeding an alien, his ID would be marked as a traitor. But he couldn't stop. He poured some of his water into the woman's hands. She drank with shaking lips, holding her child close. Then suddenly the boy stopped eating. The mother smiled weakly. "He is full now," she said. "He will live." Her voice grew softer. Her body leaned against the wall. Evan saw her breathing slow down. "Hey," he said quickly. "Stay with me, don't close your eyes." But she only smiled faintly. "You have kind eyes. Human." Her head fell to the side, and she went still. Evan's chest tightened. He shook her shoulder, but she didn't move. The child made a soft noise, not quite crying, just clutching his mother's dress. Evan looked at the sky. The clouds were moving fast, red and gray from the dying sun. "Damn it," he muttered. "Why now?" He lifted the child carefully, holding him close. The boy was light as air. Evan looked down at the lifeless woman one last time. He didn't even know her name. He couldn't save her, but maybe he could save the boy. He whispered, "I'll keep you safe." Far away, a soft beep came from his broken communicator. Static flickered and a voice broke through. Unit 07, report your location. You are not authorized to be in Zone 9. Evan looked down at the sleeping child and then at the glowing body of the alien mother. The wind carried her last whisper through the ruins. Please, just one bite. He took a deep breath, eyes cold now, and started walking toward the horizon, carrying both hope and guilt in his arms. The faint whisper stayed in his ears, and he knew. This was only the beginning. The night had fallen heavy over the alien ruins. The twin moons shone weakly through a dusty sky. Evan sat inside what used to be a small stone house, its roof half gone, its walls cracked but still standing enough to block the cold wind. In his lap lay the alien child, wrapped in a torn blanket Evan had found among the rubble. The child was still trembling. His small chest rose and fell too fast. Evan could hear the sound of his weak breaths, and every time the boy coughed, it hurt him to watch. He had no medical kit. His emergency stimpack had been lost in the crash, and the nearest human outpost was 100 miles away, across land crawling with drones that killed anything not tagged as authorized. Evan stared at the mother's body lying near the doorway, now covered with a sheet of cloth he had placed over her. Her blue skin no longer glowed. She looked peaceful, as if sleeping. The image kept replaying in his mind. Her whisper, her smile, her final words. Please, just one bite. He rubbed his face with both hands, trying to stop the guilt that burned inside him. He had seen death before, soldiers, enemies, even civilians during the invasion wars. But this felt different. It was personal. The boy stirred. His large silver eyes opened slowly, and he looked around, lost and scared. When he saw Evan, he flinched a little, then clutched the blanket tighter. It's okay, Evan said softly. You're safe. I won't hurt you. The child didn't answer. Maybe he didn't understand. But when Evan handed him a small piece of the remaining ration bar, the boy hesitated, sniffed it, then took it with trembling fingers. He ate quietly, never taking his eyes off the human. What's your name, kid? Evan asked. Of course, there was no reply. The alien language was something only translators could decode, and his was broken. But when Evan pointed at himself and said, Evan, then pointed at the boy with a question in his eyes, the child blinked and whispered something like, Neri. Neri? Evan repeated. Okay, Neri. The boy tilted his head slightly, then nodded as if accepting the name. Evan smiled faintly. You and me, kid. Guess we're stuck together now. Outside, a low mechanical hum echoed in the distance. Evan's smile faded instantly. He stood and looked through a hole in the wall. Bright lights were scanning the valley. Patrol drones. He cursed under his breath and shut off the small fire he had made. If the drones detected his heat signature, it was over. He picked up Neri and moved quietly toward the back exit of the ruins. The boy clung to his shoulder, silent but shaking. Evan could feel his tiny heartbeat against his chest. The humming grew louder. Searchlights flashed over broken roofs nearby. He ducked behind a fallen wall, heart pounding. His wrist scanner vibrated, a warning signal. Human Unit 07, unauthorized bio-contact detected. Damn it, he whispered. The system was tracking him. They knew he had made contact with an alien life form. If command confirmed it, he'd be labeled as compromised. He looked at Neri's frightened face. The boy's silver eyes shimmered in the dark, reflecting the drone lights. Evan swallowed hard. He couldn't let them take him. He pressed a few buttons on his wristband and manually disabled the tracker. Sparks flew and the device went dark. That single act made him a fugitive. The drones passed overhead, scanning the ruins with red lasers. Evan waited, holding his breath, until the sound faded into the distance. Only then did he move again. He carried Neri through the ruins, stepping carefully between stones, heading toward the hills. There he had seen an old bunker on his way in. Maybe it still had power. The journey took hours. Neri fell asleep on his shoulder, his tiny hands clutching the human's jacket. Evan's arms ached, but he didn't stop. Not once. Finally, as dawn touched the horizon, they reached the bunker, a half-buried metal door in the sand. Evan pushed it open. The inside was dark, smelling of rust and oil, but it was shelter. He set the boy down and searched the old shelves. He found a small generator, dusty but intact. With a few sparks and wires, he managed to bring a weak light to life. Neri woke up and looked around, blinking at the light. Evan gave him a small smile. Not much, huh? But better than out there. The boy stared at the glowing bulb and then pointed at Evan's chest. He said something soft, a word that sounded like huma. Yeah, Evan said, smiling tiredly. Human. The boy nodded again, eyes wide, then reached out and touched Evan's hand. His skin was warm, soft, strangely comforting. For a moment, Evan forgot the danger outside. The bunker felt quiet, almost peaceful. But deep down, he knew peace wouldn't last. He looked at the boy again, Neri, the child of a dying world, and whispered, "Don't worry, kid. I'll get you somewhere safe." Outside, unseen by them, one of the patrol drones turned back toward the ruins. It had picked up a faint, irregular energy trail, one that led straight toward the hills. The hunt had begun. Evan woke up to the faint sound of metal creaking above him. The old bunker groaned under the weight of the wind outside. He blinked slowly, his hand reaching for his gun, but when he turned, he saw the little alien boy sleeping beside him, curled up like a kitten under a thermal blanket. For a moment, peace felt real. The boy's breathing was slow and calm. His skin glowed faintly blue again, signs of life returning. Evan let out a slow breath. Maybe, just maybe, they'd made it through the night. He stood up, stretched his sore back, and checked the generator. Power was still running. He opened a ration pack and poured water into a cracked cup. Then he gently nudged the boy awake. "Hey, Neri, time to eat." The boy blinked up at him, confused, then smiled weakly. He sat up and looked at the food with shining eyes. When he took a bite, he made a tiny sound, like a hum, almost like a thank you. Evan chuckled. "You're welcome, kid." But his smile faded when he heard a short static crackle from his broken communicator lying on the table. A half-burned circuit blinked red. Then a cold, metallic voice came through. "Unit 07, you are out of bounds. Return immediately." Biological contamination detected. Evan's heart sank. They had found his signal. Even with the tracker disabled, his location was being triangulated through the communicator's old emergency beacon. He grabbed it quickly and smashed it against the wall until it fell silent. Sparks died. The boy jumped at the noise, clutching his blanket. "It's okay," Evan said softly, kneeling down. "We just can't let them find us." Neri tilted his head. "Huh, man?" he said slowly, as if asking a question. "Yeah," Evan replied. "Humans, my people," he sighed. "They don't understand kindness anymore." The boy didn't understand the words, but he reached out his small hand and placed it against Evan's chest. His eyes glowed brighter, soft silver light spreading between his fingers. For a brief second, Evan felt warmth spreading through him like calm sunlight. He froze. The pain in his left shoulder, an old wound from the crash, vanished. He moved his arm. The pain was gone, completely. "What did you just do?" he whispered. The boy smiled shyly, then pointed at his glowing hand. "Heal." Evan stared in disbelief. "You can heal people?" Neri nodded, eyes innocent, unaware of how dangerous that truth could be. Evan looked away, running a hand through his hair. "This changes everything. If Command found out an alien child could heal humans, they'd take Neri apart to study him, experiment until there was nothing left." He couldn't let that happen. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from outside. The boy gasped. Dust fell from the ceiling. Evan rushed to the window slit and peeked out. 3 human patrol drones hovered nearby, their red eyes scanning the rocks. Behind them, 2 soldiers in armor were approaching, rifles glowing blue. Evan's blood ran cold. He turned back to Neri. "Hide. Now." He pointed toward a small vent behind a pile of crates. The boy hesitated, confused. Evan grabbed him gently but firmly and guided him inside. "Stay quiet, no sound. Understand?" The boy nodded and crawled into the vent, covering himself with the blanket. Evan took a deep breath, picked up his weapon, and stood near the door. The metal lock rattled. A robotic voice shouted, "Unit 07, by order of Central Command, open this door!" Evan didn't move. They banged again. You are accused of biological contact with an unauthorized species. Open immediately or we breach. He clenched his jaw. His mind raced. He could surrender. Tell them the alien child had died. Maybe they'd let him go. But one glance at the vent changed his mind. He remembered the alien mother's whisper. Please, just one bite, he whispered to himself. No more dying because of us. The door blew open. Smoke and light filled the bunker. 2 soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Hands up, one shouted. Step away from the equipment. Evan raised his hand slowly. Relax, he said. I was just trying to survive the crash. The second soldier scanned the room. There's alien DNA here. It's fresh. Evan forced a calm smile, probably from the ruins. There's corpses everywhere out there. The scanner beeped again, louder this time. The soldier turned toward the vent. There's something behind those crates. Before he could finish, the bunker lights flickered and a burst of energy rippled through the room. The soldiers froze mid-step. Their armor lights flickered out. Neri stepped out from the vent, his small hand glowing like a tiny sun. Don't, Evan shouted him, but it was too late. The boy's fear unleashed a wave of energy that pushed both soldiers backward. They hit the wall and collapsed, unconscious but alive. Silence fell again. Evan rushed to the boy, kneeling beside him. Neri, are you okay? The boy trembled, his glow fading. Man hurt? He asked weakly. Evan looked at the soldiers, still breathing. No, you didn't kill them. He sighed in relief, then stared at the child in awe. You saved me again. He realized then this wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about protecting something far greater. As the dawn light crept into the bunker, Evan looked at the boy and said quietly, All right, Neri, from now on. Whatever happens, I'm with you. Outside. One of the drones still hovered, its lens recording everything. And far away, in the command ship orbiting above, a voice said coldly, Unit 07 has gone rogue. Send retrieval squad. The real hunt had begun. The morning came with fire in the sky. The sun rose behind thick red clouds, casting long shadows across the barren alien desert. Evan stood outside the bunker, scanning the horizon through a cracked visor. His rifle hung loose at his side, but his eyes were sharp. He had buried the 2 unconscious soldiers deep in the sand during the night. They were alive, though bruised. He couldn't bring himself to kill them. They were once his brothers in arms. But he knew the silence wouldn't last. When they failed to report in, command would come looking. Inside, Neri sat quietly, legs crossed on a piece of cloth, staring at the faint light bulb overhead. He looked stronger now, his skin's soft blue glow returning. The boy hummed to himself a tune Evan didn't understand. It sounded sad. And old Evan walked back inside and crouched beside him. We need to move soon, he said softly. More soldiers will come. Neri looked up. Man scared? Evan smiled faintly. Not scared, kid. Just careful. He touched the boy's shoulder gently. There's a place east of here, old communication towers. Maybe I can send a message to someone who can help us. The boy tilted his head. Men help Neri? Always, Evan said. Before he could say more, a sharp ping came from the motion scanner on the wall. Red dots appeared on the cracked screen, 5 of them closing in fast. Evan's blood turned cold. They're here. He ran to the window slit. Dust rose in the distance, human transports armored and sleek cutting through the desert. Above them flew 3 drones in formation. Each drone carried missile pods. Evan's mind raced. He checked his weapon, low on ammo. The bunker walls could take a hit or 2, but not for long. He turned to Neri. Listen carefully, he said, voice firm but calm. Hide in the lower tunnel. Remember the vent you came from? Go deeper this time. Don't make a sound no matter what you hear. Neri's silver eyes widened. Man come too? Evan hesitated. I'll find you soon, okay? Just trust me. The boy shook his head, frightened. No leave. He clung to Evan's arm, small hands shaking. Evan knelt and looked him in the eyes. You remember your mother, right? She wanted you to live. If you stay here, you'll die. But if you hide, I can protect you. I promise. Tears welled in the boy's eyes, but he finally nodded. Man, promise. I promise. The sound of engines grew louder. Evan guided Neri to the vent and closed it once the boy crawled inside. Then he took position behind a metal crate, aiming his rifle at the door. Moments later, the bunker shook. A flash grenade exploded near the entrance. Dust and smoke filled the air. Unit 07, a voice shouted through an amplifier. By order of Central Command, surrender immediately. You are charged with aiding enemy lifeforms. Evan's heart pounded. He didn't answer. The door was blown open by an explosive charge. 3 soldiers rushed in, armored, rifles glowing blue. Behind them stood a tall officer in a black suit, Commander Rake, Evan's former superior. Rake's cold eyes scanned the room. Evan, you've caused quite a mess. Evan stood slowly, gun raised. They were starving Rake, a mother and her child. That's not a mess, that's mercy, Rake sneered. Mercy is not your duty. Orders are, Evan's finger twitched on the trigger. If orders mean letting children die, then your system is broken. Rake raised his hand. Arrest him. The soldier stepped forward, and that's when Evan fired. The first shot hit a rifle, blasting it from a soldier's grip. Another blast hit the ceiling, sending dust and debris raining down. Chaos erupted. He dove behind cover as plasma fire scorched the walls. Sparks flew, the bunker filled with the hiss of burning circuits. Evan rolled across the floor, shooting out a light panel to create smoke. One soldier rushed him. Evan swung his rifle like a club, knocking the man down. Rake shouted, "Hold your fire! He's worth more alive!" But Evan wasn't done. He threw a flash device and the room exploded in white light. Soldiers stumbled, blinded. Evan sprinted toward the back hatch. Outside, he ran across the dunes, bullets hissing past his ears. He slid behind a boulder and gasped for air. The wind whipped around him, carrying dust into his eyes. He looked back. The bunker was surrounded now. Flames rose from one side, and in that moment, Rake's voice echoed over the comms, calm and cruel. We know you're protecting it, Evan, the alien child. Hand it over and we'll spare your life. Evan wiped blood from his cheek and whispered to himself, not a chance. He pulled a small detonator from his pocket, a backup device connected to the bunker's old generator. Inside, deep in the vent, Neri sat trembling, hearing the muffled sounds of explosions. Then a rumble shook the earth as Evan pressed the trigger. The bunker erupted in flame, collapsing in on itself. Dust and silence followed. When the smoke cleared, soldiers searched the ruins, finding nothing but melted metal and shattered rock. Rake stood watching, jaw tight. He's still out there, he said. Find him. And the child. Far away, behind a ridge of rock, Evan emerged from an underground exit, coughing, bruised but alive. In his arms, Neri clung tightly, tears streaking his glowing face. Evan looked down at him and said quietly, I told you, kid. I don't break promises. In the distance, patrol lights swept across the desert, closing in again, and Evan whispered, the real fight starts now. The desert stretched endlessly beneath 2 pale moons. Evan walked through the cold night, holding Neri close under his torn jacket. The boy's small body shivered, but he made no sound. The wind carried only the hiss of sand brushing against rock and the faint hum of distant engines searching for them. Every few steps, Evan turned back, scanning the dark horizon. The glow of human searchlights flickered far away, but he knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. His tracker was destroyed, yet Command always found a way. They were hunting them now, not just for breaking protocol, but for something more. Something they didn't yet understand. After hours of walking, Evan spotted a dark shape ahead, the remains of a crashed alien ship half buried in the dunes. Its hull was cracked open, silver metal shining faintly under the moonlight. He hurried toward it. Inside, the air was cold, but still. The wreck looked old, decades maybe, with vines of alien metal fused into the sand. Evan set Neri down carefully and said, We'll rest here for a bit. The boy nodded sleepily, then looked around with wide eyes. His small hand brushed against one of the glowing panels on the wall, and it came alive. Evan froze. What the? The ship's lights flickered, symbols glowing across the walls. A low hum filled the chamber, soft and rhythmic like a heartbeat. Neri's silver eyes reflected the light. He tilted his head, listening to something only he could hear. Then he spoke. Not broken, childlike words this time, but a clear whisper in his own alien tongue. The sound wasn't harsh or strange. It was beautiful, like music wrapped in sadness. The ship responded, lights brightening, the air growing warmer. Evan stepped closer. Neri, what are you doing? The boy turned to him, his eyes glowing brighter now. Home, he said softly. This, my people's ship. Evan stared at him in shock. You mean, this belonged to your kind? Neri nodded. Long ago. Before war. Before hunger. He touched the wall again. A small crystal rose from the floor, projecting a shimmering image. An alien woman in regal armor, tall and graceful, holding a small baby with glowing silver eyes. Evan's heart skipped. The woman looked exactly like the mother he had buried, only younger. The baby she held was Neri. Evan's throat tightened. That's you. The boy looked up, his face calm but sad. Mother was queen, I am last blood. The words hit him like thunder. You're royalty. Neri nodded slowly. Mother hide me when humans come, said, find kind eyes. He looked straight at Evan then, his silver eyes shimmering with tears. She found you. Evan didn't know what to say. His hands trembled slightly. The pieces began to fall together. The healing powers, the way the ship responded. The strange energy pulse that knocked soldiers unconscious. This wasn't just a starving alien child. This was the heir to an entire species, one that humanity had almost wiped out. And now Command wanted him. Suddenly, the ship's control panel blinked red. A warning tone echoed. Evan rushed over, reading the symbols flashing across the screen. They found us again, he muttered. Tracking energy signatures. Neri stood quietly beside him. Huh? Man, go. I stay. Evan turned sharply. No way. They'll kill you. Not if I stop them. Before Evan could react, Neri placed his glowing hand against the ship's core. The lights pulsed violently. The whole wreck vibrated, ancient systems roaring to life. Evan stumbled back. What are you doing? Calling, Neri whispered. For my people. A blinding beam of white light shot from the ship's roof into the sky, cutting through clouds. Evan shielded his eyes. They'll see that from orbit. That is the point, Neri said softly. Some still live. They will come. Evan's communicator, long dead, suddenly sparked to life. Command channel screaming. Unknown energy surge detected in Sector 7. All units converge immediately. He cursed. They're coming, kid. We need to move now. But Neri's body was shaking. The glow around him flickered like a candle in the wind. The effort was draining him. Evan knelt and grabbed him by the shoulders. Hey, stop. You'll kill yourself. The boy opened his eyes weakly. Huh. Mankind eyes. Must trust. Evan felt something warm in his chest. Not from the light, but from the words. He grabbed the boy, pulling him away from the core. I said I'd protect you. That's what I'm doing. He lifted Neri into his arms and ran toward the open hatch. Behind them, the ship pulsed again, brighter, and then went still. The energy beacon faded, but the signal had already gone out. Far above, in orbit, a long-forgotten alien cruiser received a transmission. Coordinates, encoded in royal frequency. Its systems came alive for the first time in 20 years. Back on the surface, Evan looked up at the glowing sky. He could already see gunships moving in. He whispered to the sleeping child in his arms, All right, Your Highness. Looks like we just started a war. He adjusted his grip, turned toward the dark ridge ahead, and disappeared into the dunes, just as the first human ships descended from the clouds. The sky above the desert was no longer silent. It burned with streaks of light as ships descended through the clouds, human warships, black and cold, spreading like shadows across the horizon. The desert wind carried the low hum of their engines, shaking the sand beneath Evan's boots. He moved fast, holding Neri close against his chest. The boy was weak, his glow dimming after using too much energy to awaken the old ship. Evan's heart pounded as he crossed the dunes, every step heavier than the last. He could hear the distant sound of explosions where the alien wreck had been. The humans had found it, and now they would come for them. At the edge of the dunes, he spotted a narrow canyon, its walls high and jagged. He ducked into it, breathing hard, his body trembling from exhaustion. Inside, the air was cooler. The rocks hid them from view, for now. Evan set Neri down on a smooth rock and knelt beside him. Hey, kid, you still with me? The boy blinked slowly. Man tired, he whispered. Evan smiled weakly. Yeah, no kidding. You used half the planet's energy calling that signal. Neri frowned softly. They come. My people. Evan looked toward the sky. The human ships were still spreading, but now a strange golden light flickered far above them. Something different, softer, older. He frowned. You're telling me that signal reached someone? The boy nodded faintly. Mother said. Stars remember. Evan sat back staring at him. You're something else, kid. Whole galaxies after you and you talk like you're reciting poetry. Neri smiled for the first time, small but pure. Hey, mankind eyes, he said again. The word struck Evan deep. He looked away, guilt pressing heavy on his chest. You shouldn't trust my kind so easily, Neri. Humans are the reason your world's dying. The boy tilted his head. Why it hurt? Evan sighed. Because we were afraid. We saw your people as a threat. Strong, advanced, different. So Command ordered a neutralization. We followed orders without asking questions. He looked down at his gloved hands. I thought it was war, but now I know it was murder. Neri reached out and touched his hand gently. You not same, Evan chuckled softly. Maybe not now, but I was once. Before he could say more, a faint tremor ran through the ground. The canyon walls vibrated. Evan's instincts flared, and someone was coming. He grabbed his rifle and stood, moving toward the entrance. 3 human drones floated in, scanning with bright red sensors. Evan raised his weapon and fired. The first drone exploded in a flash. The second dodged and returned fire, burning a hole through the rock beside him. He dove behind cover and shot again, hitting its core. The third one released a small device and went a tracker beacon, before Evan blasted it apart. The beacon landed near Neri, blinking red. Evan ran toward it, cursing. No, no, no. Before he could reach it, Neri stood up, his small body glowing again. The light spread from his skin, swirling like liquid silver. He raised his hand and the beacon melted into dust. The light kept growing brighter, filling the canyon like a sunrise. Neri, Evan shouted, stop! They'll see that. But the boy didn't stop. His eyes turned white, his body floating a few inches above the ground. Around him the sand began to rise, glowing particles spiraling upward. The canyon walls hummed like they were alive. Then the vision appeared, a holographic image formed in the air. Thousands of alien figures standing under a great sky, their world full of light and life. Towers of crystal reached the clouds. Children laughed, playing with glowing birds. It was beautiful, peaceful, until the sky turned red. Evan watched in horror as human ships appeared in the vision, firing beams of fire. The alien towers fell. Screams filled the air. He saw soldiers in human armor, soldiers like him, marching through the ashes, and among the chaos, he saw her, the alien queen, Neri's mother, holding her baby and whispering through tears. Find kind eyes. Then the vision faded, leaving only silence and the boy trembling, his light dimming again. Evan caught him before he fell. Hey, easy, you're okay. The boy's voice was weak. You see, what happened? Evan's jaw clenched. Yeah, I saw. Tears burned his eyes, but he didn't wipe them. He finally understood. This child wasn't just a survivor. He was the memory of everything humanity destroyed. He looked at the boy, anger and sorrow twisting inside him. I swear, Neri, I'll fix what we broke. I'll get you home. The boy smiled faintly. Man promise. Yeah, Evan whispered, and I keep my promises. But high above the canyon, black shapes were already circling. A transport ship hovered silently, its scanners locked on their location. Inside the command bay, Commander Rake watched the glowing readings on his screen. We have visual. The child's energy signature is off the charts. He looked at his team coldly. Prepare capture protocols. I want them alive. Back below, Evan felt the ground vibrate again. He looked up and saw the lights in the clouds, and this time closer, brighter. He knew what that meant. The humans were coming. But so were the aliens. He lifted Neri into his arms, eyes hard and determined. All right, little light, he said quietly. Let's show them what humanity still means. He turned toward the canyon's end as thunder rolled above. The final storm was coming. The desert sky split open with fire. Human warships hovered above like black thunderclouds, their lights cutting through the red haze. Beneath them, the ground trembled. The air smelled of smoke and static. Evan stood in the canyon clutching Neri close as the wind howled around them. Above the human fleet, a new light appeared, golden and soft, spreading like dawn. It wasn't fire or plasma. It was alive. A fleet of ancient alien vessels emerged from the clouds, their hulls glowing with lines of energy like veins of light. They moved gracefully, silently, as if they belonged to the stars themselves. Evan stared in disbelief. "They came," he whispered. Neri opened his eyes weakly, his silver glow flickering. "My people, remember," he said, voice soft but proud. Then the first shot was fired. A human warship launched a missile, cutting across the sky. An alien cruiser blocked it with a wall of shimmering light, and the explosion painted the clouds in white and blue. The sky became a battlefield. Lasers, plasma bursts, streaks of gold and red flashing in every direction. Evan shielded Neri as debris fell from above. "We need cover," he shouted, running toward a rocky ridge. But before he could reach it, a voice came through a nearby speaker. Sharp, cold, commanding. "Evan, this is Commander Rake. You have one chance. Hand over the alien child and you'll live. Defy me and you'll die with it." Evan stopped, breathing hard. The boy clung to him, trembling. "Huh? Man friend?" he asked softly. Evan looked toward the hovering gunship that carried Rake's voice. He felt the weight of the universe pressing on him, his past as a soldier, his guilt, his promise. Then he said clearly, "No, not anymore." He stepped forward, standing in the open. The gunship's spotlight locked onto him. Rake's voice came again. "You're protecting a weapon. That thing is not a child. It's alien technology." Evan shouted back. "That child healed me when your wars broke everything. He's more human than any of us." There was silence for a second. Then the gunship's cannon began to charge. Evan looked at Neri kneeling in the sand. "You stay behind me, okay? Don't be afraid." The boy shook his head, his voice trembling. Man die?" Evan smiled sadly. "Maybe. But not for nothing." The cannon fired. Evan dove to the side, but the blast hit the ground near them, throwing both into the air. Sand exploded in every direction. His ears rang. When he opened his eyes, he saw Neri lying a few meters away, motionless. "No," he shouted, crawling toward him. He picked the boy up, shaking. "Neri, come on, kid, open your eyes." A soft light began to spread from the boy's chest, faint but growing. His small hand rose, touching Evan's face. "Mankind eyes," he whispered. "Don't stop." The light around them grew brighter, brilliant, blinding. Evan looked up as the sky split again. The golden alien ships stopped firing. The human fleet hesitated. Something massive was happening. Neri floated gently from Evan's arms, rising into the air, his body surrounded by waves of silver and gold. The ground shook. Cracks of light spread through the desert, and the air filled with a sound like music, deep, ancient, and full of sorrow. Evan could barely see. He shielded his face as Neri rose higher, glowing brighter than the sun. Then, the light exploded outward, sweeping across the battlefield. When the brightness faded, the sound of weapons was gone. The sky was quiet. The ships, in both human and alien, had stopped moving. Evan stood slowly, staring in awe. Neri floated down again, landing softly in his arms, his glow now gentle and calm. What did you do?" Evan asked softly. The boy's eyes shimmered like starlight. "Showed them truth," he whispered. Up above, every human soldier aboard the fleet saw the same vision, their history of conquest, the starving alien children, the worlds they had burned. Many dropped their weapons in silence. The alien ships did not fire again. Peace, fragile, uncertain, hung in the air. Neri's glow began to fade. His small hand slipped from Evan's shoulder. Tired," he murmured. Evan's voice broke. No, don't do this, kid. Stay with me, please." The boy smiled faintly. "Mother say kind eyes keep me safe. She was right." Tears rolled down Evan's face. You kept me safe, Neri. The boy's eyes closed, his body warm in Evan's arms. A soft light surrounded him, then drifted upward, breaking into 1,000 tiny stars that floated into the night. Evan fell to his knees, staring at the glowing dust. The battlefield was silent. Both fleets hovered, watching. Then, from the eye, alien flagship, a deep voice echoed through the air, translated into human language. The child has chosen mercy. Humanity will be judged by your actions from this day forward. Evan stood, wiping his tears. He looked up at the fleets, at the silent ships that had once been enemies. He raised his hand in salute and said quietly, "Then let mercy be the new order." The alien ships began to ascend, slowly disappearing into the clouds. The human fleet remained still, not daring to fire again. As dawn rose over the desert, Evan walked alone, leaving footprints that glowed faintly where Neri's light had touched the ground. He whispered to the morning sky, "I kept my promise, kid." And for a moment he thought he heard a soft voice in the wind. Kind eyes. The light faded, but the promise lived on.